Okay, let's get this started. Corey Wayne Anderson here, and we're going to cover part one and start part one of the Master Key System. We read the biography, we read the introduction, we read the foreword. Now it's time to step into the program, and it is exciting. It's going to be a long journey. Remember, this is 24 parts. This is a 6-month program, and there's a lot of dedication necessary and needed on my end to stick to the program and get through it and be dedicated to myself. That is the biggest thing. Right? We have to be dedicated to this internal process of change, so to speak, and understanding of which we are going to undergo. And we're excited to have you with us. Thank you for joining us. Right now, it is 8 in the morning. What day is it? It's Thursday, January 30th of 2025. We got home probably about 50 minutes ago. We had a great day at work today. We were scheduled from 11 to 8. Then after we went to the gym, got our workout in. We did back and biceps today. And now we are here. Now I did shower. I suited and booted for this. We already got our protein in. We got some food in, so we're not starving in the middle of this, nor at the end of this. And we got our lovely drink, our creatine and our electrolytes. I know I shared about this not that long ago. We got our Man of God prayer cross with our beautiful American flag. We got our tiny pocket Bible with us. You know, there's actual words in here. And we have our St. Michael candle with us. And on top of that, I got a new baby today after work. And I was putting some items down in the clearance area. It's next to the garden center. And I decided to take a peek at the plants that were there. And I decided to bring one home with me. Now, I've always had a plant growing up. My mom had tons of plants. My nana, my grandma. From both sides. Right? My nana is my Mexican grandma. She's no longer with us. And my grandma is my Italian grandma. And we've always had plants. We've always been around plants. And since I came out here to where I am today, I'm going to keep my location to me. I haven't had any plants or my animals with me. My dog is out in Idaho, and she's with my family right now. My parents, she's with my parents' dog, and on a good sized land. Eventually, when I rebuild my life, so to speak, and I'm able to really be able to take care of her, take care of myself, all that good stuff, I'll be able to get her back and move forward with that. But in the meantime, like I said, this is the longest I've been without a plant. And seeing this baby, beautiful little thing, isn't she? She's going to be with us for the journey, and she's going to grow strong with us as she sits here and listens to all this information too. She's going to have a handle on the master key, and she's going to grow strong and big. And as long as I take care of her, this baby will last a very, very long time. This one's called a peace lily. It's a clean air plant. And look, how ironic is this too? It's got a, I don't know if you can really see it. You can barely see it. It's got a little angel right there. How cool is that, huh? Now this is bright, tolerates medium alta, tolera media. It's talking about the light, right? Tolerates medium to bright light. Weekly This is funny. Semanalmente. Semanalmente? Is this in English or is it in something else? Keep above 50 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, it definitely doesn't sound like I was going to say Asian. No disrespect to my fellow Asians out there. I love Asians. But it doesn't sound like an English word. So, peace lily. I always usually just keep the plant's name and name the plant what its species is. So, peace lily is with us. Let's go ahead, let's get started. All right. Now it's funny because, got my workout in, I was exhausted, I was hungry, came home, ate. And I when I was taking a shower, I wasn't too sure if I was going to do this today. I know last time when I recorded my progress through the Master Key system, I was sticking to Sunday. And usually when I would pick it up and do my meditations, I would start on a Sunday. And right now it is Thursday. And I was considering waiting till Sunday because of all the times I've gone through this process, it was always on a Sunday. But then I was thinking, hey, I might not even make it to Sunday. Now is the only time there is. Plus, what am I going to do while I'm going to sleep? I'm just going to be thinking about this, that I can do it now, since now is the time that we have to act from. So, got my suit on, got ready, came in here, and now here we are, making it happen. So let's get started. Part 1 of Master Key System. Now, introduction. Now, as we go through this process too, Mr. Hanel gives us an introductory paragraph, and from that, this introduction is the opening to the entire part. So we're going to go over the introduction of part 1, and then we're going to continue to the meat and bones of what he's going to give us for our first lesson. So, it is my privilege to enclose here part 1 of the Master Key System. Would you bring into your life more power? Get the power consciousness. More health? Get the health consciousness. More happiness? Get the happiness consciousness. Live the spirit of these things until they become yours by right. It will then become impossible to keep them from you. The things of the world are fluid to a power within man, by which he rules them. Now, that opening paragraph, he tells us right off the bat that the things we manifest and bring into our lives are dependent upon our consciousness. And we know our consciousness in turn is dependent upon our mental attitude, right? Well, our mental attitude comes from consciousness itself, but our attitude is the blueprint of which consciousness is going to manifest itself through our conduct, through our character, through our physical being. So in order to get power, you need to develop a power consciousness. You need to develop an attitude of power. In order to get more health, you need to develop a health consciousness. You need to develop an attitude of health. In order to get happiness, you need to develop a happiness consciousness. You need to develop an attitude towards happiness, a mental attitude that brings happiness. And he says, live the spirit of these things until they become yours by right. And as we even opened up with the foreword and even in the introduction of the book itself, it's talking about these laws. I know we've already covered these laws. These laws work no matter what. These universal principles are in play regardless of whether we know about them or not. And their workings in our life is dependent upon our mental attitude, our conditioned consciousness itself. And as he's saying here, it's impossible to keep these things from us when we are those things, because that manifestation process begins from the inside out, where we are internally, our thinking, our attitude, our behavior. Our attitude, our thoughts, and our behavior will just naturally flow in congruence with this state of consciousness which we must develop. And we will in turn develop and manifest these things automatically within our lives. The things of the world are fluid to a power within man by which he rules them. So all these things, the power you want. Now, understand what we mean by power. This isn't the type of power of you getting yourself served by others. This is the kind of power that will enable you to be of greater service to your people, to those around you, to your society. Because we know in the attempt of getting people to serve you, that comes from ego, that comes from a desire to have that feeling of importance, the feeling of being better than somebody else. We know as humans and as spiritual beings, things do not work out that way. Usually in that way of living causes separation, it causes fights, it causes battles, it causes challenges amongst your fellow beings. Right? We're not animals. We're not, we're with our level of spiritual understanding, our level of being conscious, the way humans have to operate are different than any other creature on earth, because it's about unity. It's about the power of stepping into the characteristics and embodying the characteristics of God, which we learn through the truth of Christ and God's wisdom. For what are we told? It is with love, right? We have to love everything and everyone as we love God. Now, on that topic, we will be going over The Science of Being Great by Wallace D. Wattles, and he talks about this perfectly with Christ's idea of greatness. Christ's idea of greatness is your ability to be of greater service to those around you. It is not found in your desire to be served by others. And he uses Napoleon Bonaparte and Abraham Lincoln as an example. He says Napoleon Bonaparte, yes, he was a very able man. He did tremendous things that we will remember him by. But he says Napoleon Bonaparte was not a great man. He was a very able man. Then with Lincoln, he talks about Lincoln was a great man because Lincoln put himself in service to his society, in service to his people. It wasn't about conquering others. It was about giving people the ability to live the life of freedom, which is an inalienable right, which we know is just a natural fundamental right we have as humans, as conscious beings. This is what Lincoln did, especially when he gave freedom for the slaves back then. He gave he overcame a very challenging situation during that time when it came to the ownership of slaves. Now, thank God we do not live in a time like that today, because because that's just not greatness. And us as a society, us as Americans, us as people who are striving to live a greater existence, we know all that needed to be abolished anyway in order for that height of greatness as a species can be reached. So we went a little bit off topic, but that was pertinent to the portion that we just read right now. So like I said, this power that we're talking about, it's not the power of you being able to get yourself served. It's the power which will enable you to be of greater service to those around you. So continuing on, you need not acquire this power. You already have it, but you want to understand it. You want to use it. You want to control it. You want to impregnate yourself with it so you can go forward and carry the world before you. Now, viewer, what he just told us right there is that this isn't a power that we have to go and find, right? This is a power that we already have. Or we don't have to acquire it. The idea of having to acquire it means that you do not have it already, but you do have it. You have it because you are already it, because this power flows directly outside of your consciousness, outside of your inner life. You already have it. But in order to get a handle on it, you have to understand it, right? And this is what all this is here to do, giving you the understanding of how psychological laws work, how you work, how these universal laws work, how you are living through this life in abidance, in abidement. Is that even a word? In how you're living this life, and these laws are in play at all times, every second of your existence. Now we have to become conscious of it. We have to become conscious of it, right? We have to have the understanding of what it is, of how it is, and understanding how, hey, we are it. We are already it. Now, in order to use it conscientiously, we have to gain that conscious understanding. And after we gain that conscious understanding, we will be given the ability to control it, right? You want to control it because through your conscious controlling of it, you'll be able to consciously direct this power to manifest the things that you want in your life. You want to impregnate yourself with it. Now, I know that might sound a little bit strange, especially if you're a man watching this, but ultimately, you get the idea of what he means. You want to impregnate your mind with the reality of the principles that we are going to learn, that we are covering, so that you can go forward and carry the world before you. Day by day, as you go on, as you gain momentum, as your inspiration deepens, as your plans crystallize, as you gain understanding, you will come to realize that this world is no dead pile of stones and timber, but that it is a living thing. It is made up of the beating hearts of humanity. It is a thing of life and beauty. Now that is a very powerful statement right there too, because he talks about everything in this life that is made, particularly what man has taken from what the universe has made, what God has made, and fashioned it into the form of which he desired to see it manifested in. I know we already used the example of this tablet that I'm recording this off of. It came out of somebody's mind, out of a thought form, out of an idea of Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs acted upon that idea. Now we know Apple is a huge, ginormous corporation, and we have this wonderful tool at our fingertips to be able to be creative with, right? That's what he's saying here. We do not live in a world that is dead. We live in a world that is alive, a world that is active. And this active, living life is you, is in you. It is made up of the beating hearts of humanity. It is a thing of life and beauty. It is evident that it requires understanding to work with material of this description. As we have just said, once we understand the material that this program is going to cover, we will be able to use it conscientiously. But those who come into this understanding are inspired by a new light, a new force. They gain confidence in greater power each day. They realize their hopes and their dreams come true. Life has a deeper, fuller, clearer meaning than before. And now, part 1. What a great way to open up a part. Part 1. That much gathers more is true on every plane of existence, and that loss leads to greater loss is equally true. Mind is creative, and conditions, environment, and all experiences in life are the result of our habitual or predominant mental attitude. Now, notice what he says right there: our habitual mental attitude, our predominant mental attitude, the dominant mental attitude that we are in the majority of the time. This is the part that counts. So, when we're going to create, since we will be giving the information on how you can create your own mental attitude to manifest the things that you want, since that manifestation will come forth from within you. Your predominant mental attitude, this idea, this thought form of which you have, of which you want to create, you have to work it within your consciousness until you are thinking about it all of the time. You have to think about it all of the time. The attitude of mind necessarily depends upon what we think. Therefore, the secret of all power, all achievement, and all possession depends upon our method of thinking. This is true because we must be before we can do, and we can do only to the extent which we are. And what we are depends upon what we think. Now, as we have already talked about before, you becoming the person of which you think of yourself to be, this is the key. Well, in order to become that person and to do the thing that person does, you have to develop the process of thought which will manifest that idea in form, which will manifest that person in form. We cannot express powers that we do not possess. The only way by which we may secure possession of power is to become conscious of power. And we can never become conscious of power until we learn that all power is from within. So, viewer, everything that you need for the achievement of your desires is already inside of you. It's dependent upon your understanding of yourself and these laws of which we as humans live by, these universal laws. There is a world within, a world of thought and feeling and power, of light and life and beauty, and, although invisible, its forces are mighty. Now I want to give you a good perception when it comes to understanding this inner world that he is talking about. Because I know we've already talked about how we are multidimensional beings, having and experiencing our reality on 3 different planes of existence, all working together as one to manifest our reality as one ultimate reality. Right? We know we're physical beings. We live in these bodies. We know we're mental beings. We have intellect. We have reason. We have the power to formulate mental pictures. And we know we're spiritual beings because we could be completely conscious and still our mind. We don't have to live by thought alone. We can legitimately experience our reality outside the realm of our own thoughts. So we know that our spiritual selves, the realm of consciousness itself, is beyond thought. It's beyond the physical. Spirituality and the spirit and the consciousness of which you really are is beyond it is amazing. It's beyond your own thinking. Your real self and your real identity as the I am manifesting in the flesh exists in a place and a space beyond your own thinking and beyond this physical being you live in. But getting back into that an example of how you could look at this. We know our brain is a part of the physical body, and we know that you need to, because the brain is part of the physical body, you need to legitimately speak, say words in order for your brain to pick up on the vibration of your voice, on that sound. And then your brain picks up on that vibration, and it does its electrical signals, all this great stuff through your synapses and neurons, and it transfers what it's receiving from the external world, what it's receiving from the external world, and sending that information to the mind, to your consciousness, to your awareness. We know you have to physically speak in order for the physical brain to be able to receive it, but you can hear your thoughts, right? You don't need to say anything at all, but yet you are aware of your own thinking. You could hear yourself internally, the internal man. This is the part that he's talking about, the world within, the world that consists of our thinking, the world that consists of our emotions, our feelings. These are internal processes, and they happen in the spiritual part of ourselves, the inner part of ourselves. Now, you do need to understand that. You need to really get to the point where you could, I want to use the word diversify, but segregate between what's physical and the physical part of who we are, and what's mental and the mental part of who you are. Okay, the world within is governed by mind. When we discover this world, when you discover the world of mind, we shall find the solution for every problem, the cause for every effect. And since the world within is subject to our control, all laws of power and possession are also within our control. So viewer, what do we have to do? We have to get a good understanding of this internal process which is going on. The world of our mind, the world of our psychology, the power of our thoughts, what's happening with our thoughts, where our thoughts are coming from, our emotions, the power of our emotions and our emotional body, because this power is the source of all of our personal power and the things we secure possession of in the external world. Right? We find the solution for every problem once we find the reality of this inner power. We find the cause for every effect once we find the reality of this inner power. And since this inner world is within our control, you can control and direct these inner forces. So everything you obtain externally is ultimately directly connected to you and is within your own control. Now, one thing to add here, what does Jesus tell us about the kingdom of heaven? He tells us that the kingdom of heaven is within us. Chew on that for a little bit. It's inside of us. He's talking about the kingdom of spirit, the kingdom of mind, because through our mind we develop the qualities and characteristics of God, which is present within us, the immanent, infinite, omnipotent, omniscient power of the universal mind and intelligence. It is within us. The world without is a reflection of the world within. What appears without is what has been found within. In the world within may be found infinite wisdom, infinite power, infinite supply of all that is necessary, waiting for unfoldment, development, and expression. If we recognize these potentialities in the world within, we shall take form. They shall take form in the world without. Now, what he says right there, everything in the external world is a reflection of what's going on within. Now, this is true to the extent that, hey, other people have choices too. You can't control somebody else's attitude, right? Doesn't matter how great of an attitude that you're in. If somebody's having a bad day, they're having a bad day. But you do have control of how you choose to respond towards somebody who's in a negative attitude. Now, I needed to make that clear, that even though they say everything is an expression of what's going on within us, it is true to the extent that, hey, we are the center of what we are causing. But it is not true to the extent that everyone else in this world is also the center of what they are causing. And it comes from their choice, their mental attitude, and how they choose to think and live within this world. So back to what he is saying. This world is within us, right? This infinite power, infinite wisdom, infinite power, infinite supply of all that is necessary. What he's saying is that we have all the resources to achieve anything, to do anything, to be anything. All this is already present inside of us. But through your ability to understand it, comprehend it, and manifest it, to create it, to unfold it, that's when this power becomes present and expressive within your life. What he says here, waiting for unfoldment, development, and expression. It is waiting for you to recognize it and pull it out of you and develop your consciousness, yourself, into a higher state of being. Now, this explains exactly the process of what Abel Allen meant when he says that we as a species, we as a man, we haven't even touched the threshold of what we are capable of becoming as a species. We haven't even touched it. And all the great men we know today doing the great things in the world, the things that they are doing still pale in comparison to what the coming man is going to do. The man that is able to express and unfold the infinite potentialities that are within them. Because we know that our society is dependent upon the people that make that society. When the people themselves get to the point of manifesting this infinite potential and using it for the greater good. Remember, we're here to use our powers for good. Then there is no telling. We can't even begin to imagine what we as humans will even be capable of. Now, harmony in the world within will be reflected in the world without by harmonious conditions, agreeable surroundings, the best of everything. It is the foundation of health and a necessary essential to all greatness, all power, all attainment, all achievement, and all success. Now, what he means when he says harmony in the world within, it means that you are harmonizing with yourself. You're harmonizing with the laws of your own mind and understanding the laws of consciousness, which you, by natural law, abide by. You have to be in harmony with the workings of God, so to speak, of nature. And this harmony will reflect in the conditions you meet in life, the surroundings of which you find yourself in. Now, like I said, other people still have a choice. They're going to choose their own mental attitude, but you still have control over how it is going to affect you and your mental attitude, right? The best of everything. It is the foundation of health and a necessary essential to all greatness. So you have to be in harmony with the inner workings and the inner laws of mind, so you can have a foundation for health. You will have the essential for what your value of greatness is, what you value as power, what you value as what you want to attain, what things you would like to achieve, and the successes that you desire to create and manifest for yourself. All that is dependent upon your ability to harmonize yourself with the natural workings of law. Harmony in the world within means the ability to control our thoughts and to determine for ourselves how any experience is to affect us. And we just covered that, right? We get to choose how we are going to respond to our environment. We do not have to be under the influence of what we're experiencing on the outside. Remember, that's a stimulus. That's an observation. That is something that you are experiencing, that is happening outside of you. But you, being a center of divine power within yourself, being a center of mind, of causative agency within yourself, through your consciousness, you have the ability to choose how you are going to respond to the external stimuli, because you will be given control over your thinking. If we find... Okay, hold on. Almost skipped a few lines. We definitely don't want to be doing that. Harmony in the world within results in optimism and affluence. Affluence within results in affluence without. As within, so without. The world without reflects the circumstances and the conditions of the consciousness within. If we find wisdom in the world within, we shall have the understanding to discern the marvelous possibilities that are latent in this world within. Excuse me, sorry. And we shall be given the power to make these possibilities manifest in the world without. And as we've already said, this wisdom, right? We know wisdom is... Solomon tells us in Proverbs, wisdom is the thing which was with God since the beginning of all time. It is through wisdom that God created and manifested all created things. Before anything in the material world existed, there first existed God, the I am that I am, the infinite power, which is infinite in wisdom, infinite in power, infinitely present, present everywhere, manifesting through all space, manifesting through all matter. All that comes from the reality of the I am that I am, the infinite mind, as we've covered with quantum physics. We know it today as the quantum field. This wisdom, since this power is inside of us, like I said before, we don't need to make our hair grow, we don't need to make our nails grow, we don't need to digest our food, we don't need to make our heart beat, we don't need to renew ourselves, our cells, our body, the intelligence within us, the God within us is doing that for us. Remember, you are not separate from God. The only separation between you and infinite intelligence is your lack of understanding your unity with it. The separation happens within your own consciousness. So with that being said, the unity of you and God happens within your consciousness, in this unition. This unity, this oneness within yourself that you develop with infinite mind, the conscious understanding of it, you will find infinite potential, infinite possibilities that can manifest through you, right? If we find the wisdom in the world within, if we understand the wisdom of God that we are a part of, that we came from wisdom. And when we understand and bring our mind in alignment with the workings of this wisdom, we'll be able to discern the marvelous possibilities that are latent, that are within this inner world, this kingdom of heaven. And we shall be given the power to make these possibilities manifest. We will be given the power to manifest God's kingdom on this planet. We will be given the power to manifest the ideal life of which you desire to manifest. First, find the power that already exists within you. learn how to use this power and develop wisdom and understanding in it, then develop the discipline to keep your consciousness focused towards the attainment of that ideal. Remember, its manifestation is dependent entirely upon your predominant habitual mental attitude, your ability to become the thing you need to be, right? You have to be it first inside in order for you to be able to manifest its reality on the outside. As we become conscious of the wisdom in the world within, we mentally take possession of this wisdom. And by taking mental possession, we come into actual possession of the power and wisdom necessary to bring into manifestation the essentials necessary for our most complete and harmonious development. And we just explained this part too before we even read this section, right? It is through our understanding of the wisdom of the inner world and our conscious grasp of it, our understanding of it mentally, which will give us the power to use it, to control it, to apply it. And through that application and understanding, we will be given the necessary wisdom and tools to bring that manifestation into existence. The world within is the practical world in which the men and women of power generate courage, hope, enthusiasm, confidence, trust, and faith, by which they are given the fine intelligence to see the vision and the practical skill to make that vision real. Life is an unfoldment, not an accretion. Now, what he means by accretion? Accretion is another word for, hey, it's just something that happens to you, right? Life is not something that just happens to you. What he's saying here, life is an unfoldment. It happens for you. It unfolds for you. And we know that this unfolding process comes from where you are in your development of consciousness itself. Since you, being created in the image of God, as we've already covered, through your mental attitude, through your conditioned state of internal being, these universal laws will be able to work and manifest with who you are, because you not only bring the things about you and attract those things to you through the law of attraction, but you also embody the idea. You embody it in character. You become it. So life happens for you. It unfolds for you as you gain clear and better understanding of this life that you live in, the reality of the nature of our universe, and your power and unity with the infinite mind. What comes to us in the world without is what we already possess in the world within. All possession is based on consciousness. All gain is the result of an accumulative consciousness. All loss is the result of a scattering consciousness. Now that is a very important statement right there too. I think it was Matthew when he says, "He that hath, it shall be given, and he that does not hath, even that which he is given shall be taken away." This explains what Matthew is talking about in that scripture. All gain, right? He that hath, it shall be given. He that gains the understanding, he that gains access to it, that grasps its reality within consciousness, it will be given to him, because he will become the person necessary to manifest it. Then he says, when Matthew says that he that hath not, even that which he hath shall be taken away. It is saying right here, all loss is the result of a scattering consciousness. So he that hath not, even that which he hath. So you could have somebody. Now I want to use an example, because this is a great example. You have a gambler, right? A person who loves to gamble. He ends up winning the lottery. He makes millions and millions of dollars. But he didn't earn that millions of dollars. He didn't become the person necessary to develop and create that for himself. Because he didn't do all that work and it was something that was just given to him, he didn't have the consciousness. In Think and Grow Rich, Napoleon Hill calls it the money consciousness. Since he didn't have the money consciousness and he just came into having it, he ends up losing it. He squanders it. Now this is a perfect example of that in play. He that hath not, even that which he hath, shall be taken away, because he doesn't have the consciousness of wealth, because he doesn't have a conditioned inner life, a conditioned attitude conducive towards creating, manifesting, and maintaining wealth. He loses it. But the person that starts with nothing, right, they accumulate the wealth consciousness. They create it, they learn it, they dive into it, they develop the mental attitude necessary to manifest it, and they grow and become the person they need to be to have that wealth and retain it and maintain it. Even that he that hath, it shall be given. It becomes given unto the person who hath it within himself first. So mental efficiency is contingent. Okay, back to the last part. And all loss is the result of a scattering consciousness. Now, this means everything is dependent upon consciousness and where you are placing and focusing your awareness. Because look at it this way too. Think about a time you were really focused on something. You were excited about it, you were thinking about it, and you noticed how you were moving in that direction. But then something else catches your attention. You move your attention from one thing to the next. Now this thing that you were focusing on prior, the energy, what you were manifesting, what you were building and creating, the energy that you had put into that starts to begin to dissipate, because the cause of which that energy was manifesting into, right, whatever this was that you were doing, you being the cause of it coming into existence in your life, since you took away the causative power from this thing and placed it somewhere else, you're no longer putting your focus, you're not putting your attention, you're not putting your mind, you're not putting your attitude, you're not taking action in this direction anymore. And the force that flows outside of you into this then retracts back into you, because you're now placing that focus somewhere else. And all this eventually will go away. But this other thing which you are now focused on is what starts to germinate, manifest, come into existence within your life. That's what he's saying here. All loss is the result of a scattering consciousness. If there is something you lose, it is because you scatter your focus. Now this is why it is very important, and in Napoleon Hill talks about it, and Hanel talks about it too. He calls it the ideal. You need to have an ideal, a solidified desire, a solidified goal, that, hey, this is what I want. You have to really truly want and desire it for yourself, because it's dependent, the manifestation of that thing is dependent upon your, as we said, your mental attitude, your force of the God force of which you are focusing towards its manifestation. It's dependent upon your ability to stay focused on the creation of that one thing until it is able to be in fruition enough to be manifested. And this is why it's so important, the mastermind principle of getting other people involved, because this force is the same force operating through everybody, right? It manifests through everyone. And once that you get your people with you and you're developing the system, you will be able to step back and you can have the time to focus on something else, because the power of consciousness, which brought it into existence to begin with, is now being energized. It's being manifested through other people that are now on board. Wow. How cool is that? That is very, very cool. And I know we talked in another video too, this is exactly why Carnegie became the wealthiest man in the world during his time in a business that he hardly knew anything about. He didn't know much about steel, but what he knew principles. He knew the power of the mastermind. So what did he do? He developed the mastermind of the business. That's what he focused on the most. He focused on the people, which make up the totality of the business altogether. He developed these people. Now, mental efficiency is contingent upon harmony, meaning that your ability to be efficient in the things that you're doing and the things that you're focused on is dependent upon your understanding and your harmony with how these inner laws work. Discord means confusion. Therefore, he who would acquire power must be in harmony with natural law. We are related to the world without by the objective mind. The brain is the organ of this mind, and the cerebral spinal system of nerves puts us in conscious communication with every part of the body. This system of nerves responds to every sensation of light, heat, odor, sound, and taste. Now we are going to be going into the divisions of mind through the conscious and the subconscious mind. When we look at the human anatomy, we look at our nervous system, we know that the cerebral spinal system, which consists of the brain, your spinal cord, and the nerves, your central nervous system, these nerves operate and manifest the sensations of what we perceive as the external world. Now there is another structure, another system of nerves that even our cerebral spinal system is connected to, which is the nerves of the subconscious mind. And the nerves of the subconscious mind are the nerves that control digestion, control your heartbeat, control these automatic functions of the body. These functions happen under the nerves of the subjective mind, the subconscious mind. And these nerves are related to the internal parts of our body. It is found that these nerves are not in contact with any external stimuli at all. Our central nervous system is in contact with the external world. The internal world, the internal nerves are mainly in contact with the most inner workings of our body. It's very interesting, very powerful. The system of nerves responds to every sensation of light, heat, odor, sound, and taste. When this mind thinks correctly, when it understands the truth, when the thoughts sent through the cerebral spinal system, nervous system to the body are constructive, these sensations are pleasant, harmonious. Now, this is another way of explaining everything that we've already talked about, but using a more physiological term and looking at it from a more physiological portion of, right, a physiological perception of the information that we are covering. Because we know that every thought is received by the brain. And we've already talked about how we can change the structure of our brain simply by the simple act of changing our mental attitude, changing the way we think. Just by changing our thoughts, we change our brain. And we know that everything through the nervous system alone operates with electrical signals. The electrical signals of your thought is moving throughout your entire nervous system. And the vibration, so to speak, of these electrical signals is dependent upon the nature of your mental attitude and the nature of the thought of which you think, because these are forces, are they not? And the force, whether it's high vibration or low vibration, is dependent upon the nature of the thought of which it is itself. Right? There's a lot to cover. We've said it multiple times how deep this information actually goes. The result is of constructive thought, that we build strength, vitality, and all constructive forces into our body. But it is through the same objective mind, through the same process, that all distress, sickness, lack, limitation, and every form of discord and inharmony is admitted to our lives. It is therefore through the objective mind, by wrong thinking, that we are related to all destructive forces. Now, I really want you to take a moment and think about what he said right there. We know, as they opened the introduction of the book, we know that the law of electricity, we know electricity exists. Electricity has always existed. Through our conscious understanding and our ability to think correctly about electricity, which gave us the power to harness it, and use it for our benefit within our lives. That happened through constructive thought, understanding the wisdom behind the workings of electricity. So that same principle that we have right there works in a negative way too, through ignorance, through lack of understanding, which we know those that aren't aware of this information, this is what they are doing within their lives, and they're setting the laws in a negative in negative ways, and they're manifesting negative conditions. I know what it's like to manifest negative conditions. I know what it's like to meet failures. I know what it's like to fall short of that goal of which you're trying to reach. I know what it's like to lose the thought process necessary for the finishing of a manifestation process. And that happened from myself, not being able to maintain my focus throughout the manifestation process of the things that I truly want. It's the same thing here. In losing the thought, not thinking in alignment with the workings of these principles, we are creating disharmony. We're setting destructive forces in motion, and these destructive forces through wrong thinking. They will manifest in our bodies, they will become our character, and we will set the law in motion, which will bring negative conditions about. Very powerful, very, very, very powerful. We are related to the world within by the subconscious mind. The solar plexus is the organ of this mind. Now, what he's saying, we have this ganglionic mass of nerves, which is known as the solar plexus, and we'll go over it right now. We're about to reach it. This center of energy, so to speak, is located in the back of our stomach, the pit of our stomach. It's called the solar plexus. And the center of the spiritual inner subconscious mind that is only connected to the innermost parts of who we are, that is found having its center through the subconscious mind, the solar plexus. So just as our brain is the central organ of the conscious mind, the solar plexus is a central organ of the subconscious functionings of the mind. The sympathetic system of nerves presides over all subjective sensations such as joy, fear, love, emotion, respiration, imagination, and all other subconscious phenomena. It is through the subconscious that we are connected with the universal mind and brought into relation with the infinite constructive forces of the universe. Okay, where could I start with the words that I need to put in motion? The solar plexus being the center of the intelligence of the subconscious mind, it is through this solar plexus with this internal universal intelligence inside of us, which we know as the Father, the infinite mind, the Father mind, the parent mind, the intelligence which brought that is inside of us, that is making our hair grow, making our nails grow, doing all the automatic functions of our body. That is the center of joy. It gives a sensation of joy. Fear, it's receptive to the sensations of joy. Fear, love, emotion. It is responsible for our respiration, right? Because we do breathe automatically. We breathe by itself, by ourselves. We can focus on other things and do other things, and through all the things that we do, we're automatically breathing, right? That shows the power of this infinite power, this intelligence that is within us, this other system of nerves that we, through our consciousness, our conscious being, is connected to. Through the subconscious, we are connected with the universal mind and brought into relation with the infinite constructive forces of the universe. And the reason we're brought into relation with it, because the infinite constructive forces of the universe is the subconscious mind itself. It is the part of ourselves which works and functions automatically outside the realm of consciousness itself. How could it be otherwise? How could it be otherwise? The Father is within us. I and the Father are one. The I am of personal consciousness is one with the infinite working consciousness that is present inside. It is the coordination of these two centers of our being and the understanding of their functions which is the great secret of life. So he's saying understanding these two functions of who and what we are, this is the secret. This is the biggest secret, understanding these two phases of our own being, because we have to bring these two functions in conscious coordination, conscious unity. With this knowledge, we can bring the objective and subjective minds into conscious cooperation and thus coordinate the finite and the infinite. Our future is entirely within our own control. It is not at the mercy of any capricious or external power. So what he is saying here, viewer, is we are not barred down or locked down by destiny. Your destiny is entirely within your own hands. All agree that there is but one principle or consciousness pervading the entire universe. Okay, now he's getting into the explanation and understanding of the infinite mind, the universal mind, the Father, of which we know all of us came from. There is but one principle, one consciousness, pervading the entire universe, occupying all space, and being essentially the same in kind at every point of its presence. So everywhere, every manifestation, every manifested thing you see in the material world, every space, everything, just everything, this power is literally everywhere, all at the same time. And since this power is the creative force of everything in existence, since you and I came out of this power is also present inside of us. Occupying is being essentially, because being the same in kind and quality at every point of its presence. It's no different. Its manifestation and the power of its presence is no different on the inside of us as it is when it's out expanding and pervading the entire universe. Since this power is able to manifest infinite anything, that also means that inside of us is the power for us to be able to manifest anything. Because we're using this power. We're using the very power that is able to manifest anything. It is all powerful, all wisdom, and always present. All thoughts and things are within itself. It is all in all. Now, this is a very interesting thing too, because we know that thought is not limited just to us. We know that thought is a legitimate force of energy, and it sends out. Our thoughts travel the infinite mind in the form of vibration, in the form of energy. I used this example before. We're going to go ahead and use it again. I know for a fact that you've been with somebody before. You're hanging out with them. You know, you're chit-chatting, you're doing your thing, and you end up saying something, or they end up saying something, and one of you says, hey, I was just thinking that. It is because thought is present. The thought of that thing is present amongst both of you. Now, in order for that to even happen, thought needs to be a force. Thought needs to be something that is extending beyond just what is happening within you, extending beyond. Thought has to be able to extend beyond you in order for somebody else to even receive and to be thinking along that rate of vibration. All thoughts and things are within itself, so your thoughts are traveling along this infinite mind. You really need to think about that. You need to understand that. And in quantum physics today, this is exactly how they're explaining how law of attraction works. Because one thing could be vibrating at a specific frequency. And since we are talking about our mental attitude and our mind and our thoughts being the center of causation and the center of how the law of attraction works for you in your life. And if everything is vibrating, everything is made out of atoms, nothing is truly solid. At the base of everything exists consciousness, energy, and vibration, even all matter. All matter is vibrating at a specific frequency. This is a part of your power, your ability to step into a mental attitude, to think certain thoughts, to step into a certain rate of vibration. And by the electromagnetic law of all things, which is the law of attraction, the electromagnetic nature of the vibration of your thought matches with whatever like vibrations are out in the ether. And through the great law of attraction, as you continue to live your life, you just become attracted to the things that are in alignment with the vibration of your mental attitude, the vibration of your thought. Because I know you thought of something before, and then you ended up experiencing it. You thought of a car, you ended up seeing that car later on. You thought of a person, you ended up seeing that person, or that person ended up calling you or sending you a message. You talk about one subject with somebody, then you're going on living your life, then you just end up meeting somebody who is also just going over that same subject with somebody else. That is attraction. That is thought. It is energy. All thoughts and things are within itself. In order for all this to happen too, it all has to happen within itself, within one giant mind. We have to have the presence of the infinite Father, infinite mind, cosmic energy, quantum field, infinite intelligence. This infinite consciousness must be in existence for all these laws, all these things to take place. Because all the thoughts that you think exist within the very thing that you came from and the very thing that you are a part of. There is but one consciousness in the universe able to think, and when it thinks, its thoughts become objective things to it. Now this has two meanings, because it is also said that God, the infinite mind, thought all things in existence. It thought us into being. It thought Peace Lily into being. It thought all things into being. All things that have been created organically by God has been thought into existence by God. And that includes you and me. And anything, since we are created in God's image, we as humans have the exact same power through the functioning of our own personal consciousness. We have already said this tablet I'm recording this off of first existed as an idea in somebody's mind, first existed as a thought form. So as there is one conscious power, one infinite universal mind, this mind is able to think. And when it thinks, its thoughts become objective things to it. Like I said, this has two meanings. What it thinks, its thoughts become objective things to it. The first thing that it does, like we've already said, the thought extends out. It becomes objective to it. It attaches to the things, to other things that are in alignment with the vibration of its own thought. And it comes to them in the form of something external, something objective. The thought manifests itself in a material form through something outside of itself. The second thing it means, right, that explains the law of attraction. The second thing that it means is that it becomes an objective thing. It becomes your objective character. Remember, it's the nature of consciousness to embody that which it thinks about. So your consciousness is forming and shaping into the thoughts you are thinking and expressing itself through the body, through your character, through your conduct. I've already said it many times before. You become the image of that which you are thinking yourself in material form. So not only do you become what you think, you are simultaneously attracting other things that are correlative, so to speak, to the vibration of your mental attitude, your thought. Okay. As this consciousness is omnipresent, since it is everywhere all at once, it must be present within every individual. It is present with you, in you, viewer, co-creator. It's also present within me. Each individual must be a manifestation of that omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent consciousness. As Christ tells us, I and the Father are one. Know ye not that ye are the temple of the living God? Know that you can do all the things that I do too. Right? He explains this is what Christ was really teaching. And this is what Christ is. The kingdom of heaven is within us. Once you establish this kingdom, seek ye first the kingdom of God, the inner workings of God, the realities of how God works through wisdom. Then all these things shall be added unto you. Everything that I do because I see the Father do. The perfect Christ, the perfect expression of everything that God is. And we know that the conscious mind, through the ability to think and develop these divine infinite qualities, since we know that this power is everywhere, it is present within us, it's infinite in wisdom, infinite in power, infinite in its ability to manifest, so too within us do we have the infinite power inside of us, and just through our conscious understanding of it and our ability to develop it, like Christ said, all that I do, you can do too. You need to listen and understand. Through the understanding of this infinite power inside of us will give us the conscious unity and the ability to unfold it, to step into the characteristics and the reality of the infinite mind, so we too can become what Jesus came to give as God in the flesh. Now, it's a very interesting and powerful statement right there too. In The Science of Being Great, as I've already mentioned, Wallace D. Wattles talks about why God created man in the first place. Since God is one and everything is God manifesting in form, and since humans being created in the image of God, God created the man so God can live as himself through a flesh, so God can live as a God through one of its manifested things. That is exactly what we are as humans. The divine purpose of the human being is to be a complete image of what God is through something that he created, which is exactly what Christ came to give us. The unity of God and the power of God, which we all have, and which we all are through the understanding and embodiment of Christ. Very powerful, very, very, very powerful information. Now, to throw in there too, there was a statement, real quick, there was a statement in The Message of New Thought by Abel Allen. You can listen to the audiobook, it is out there right now. He says, by another author, I can't remember his name, but he gave a statement that man is God thinking. Very powerful words, that we are God thinking through the flesh, through something that was created by the infinite mind, created by himself, within himself. Everything exists within itself. Excuse me. Okay. Excuse me. Oh, I got the hiccups. No time for hiccups, Mr. Wayne. Alright, they're gone. As there is only one consciousness in the universe that is able to think, it necessarily follows that your consciousness is identical with the universal consciousness. Or in other words, all mind is one mind. There is no dodging this conclusion. And as Christ told us too, there is only what I believe it was the religious, the man of religion, prominent in his position in the religious doctrines of the time Christ was in, when he came to Christ and asked him what the greatest law was. And Christ told him, God is one. Love this one with all your mind, all your power, all your heart, all your soul, and love your neighbor as yourself. Love others as you love yourself. I and the Father are one. All mind is one mind. There is no separation between you and God. You are divinely connected to God just through the nature of life itself. It is a natural thing, a natural reality. It's just how it is, that your mind, man is made in the image of God, that your mind is made out of the exact same thing as the universal mind. There is no dodging this conclusion. The consciousness that focuses in your brain cells is the same consciousness which focuses in the brain cells of every other individual. Each individual is but the individualization of the universal, the cosmic mind. Now, as we've already talked about, spirit and consciousness, God, the infinite mind, being everywhere in the same in all places that it exists. And since everything is manifested out of this one thing, and this one thing exists within everything that it has manifested, that means that my consciousness, my awareness, the very power of me, the point of reference of me, which is the I am, because I am one with the I am that I am. The real spiritual part of me and who I really am as the spiritual being is made out of the exact same substance, the exact same consciousness, the exact same one universal presence and thing of which you are too, viewer. And once you find that central point of I amness of which you are too, you too will step into the same identical substance, the same identical reality of which my existence comes from too. And this oneness, this one existence, is the exact same existence as the universal I am that I am. What a trip. And that even shows that Christ, when Apostle Paul talks about how Christ saw it not robbery to make himself equal with God, and even though he claimed himself as a man, whatever claims he did as God himself, he did through his wisdom in unity and understanding with God, since we are learning that it is through our own consciousness and understanding of the power which gives us the power, which allows us to manifest and embody ourselves as the power. All that happens from the divine center of our own I amness. And since Jesus was the perfect representation of the unity with this power, he spoke when he spoke as Christ from the viewpoint of I am. This is why he says, I am the Alpha and the Omega. I am the beginning and the end, because he was speaking from the same central point of consciousness, which embodied as an individual through him as the same viewpoint as the infinite consciousness, the infinite I am, which is the parent consciousness, the parent mind, because it's unity, it's united. Our minds are united and is one with the infinite conscious living mind. I and the Father are one. Notice he says I am, I, intelligence, consciousness, just pure consciousness. The universal mind is static or potential energy. It simply is. It can manifest only through the individual, and the individual can manifest only through the universal. They are one. As we just said a little bit ago, when Wallace D. Wattles talks about the reason God created the man is so God can express himself as a God through one of its manifested beings, one of its manifested creatures. They are one. We cannot live without the presence of this infinite power, and this infinite power cannot live without being able to express itself through created things, because it is a creative power. It is just the nature of consciousness of the infinite itself to create and manifest and to live through what it has created as itself. The ability of the individual to think is his ability to act on the universal and bring it into manifestation. Human consciousness consists only in the ability of man to think. Mind in itself is believed to be a subtle form of static energy, from which arises the activities called thought, which is the dynamic phase of mind. Mind is static energy. Thought is dynamic energy, the two phases of the same thing. Thought is therefore the vibratory force formed by converting static mind into dynamic mind. So what he is saying here is that mind as an energy and something that is present is something that just is. And when this mind thinks, it moves from a state of just being, of just pure being, into a state of something that is moving, that moves into form. It becomes a dynamic form. It becomes a dynamic power. And it has to express itself through the dynamic phase of which it is directing itself. He's saying this power, human consciousness within itself, the mind within itself, is static. It is just an energy that simply is. Through the vibratory force that it creates through thought, that the very process of thinking itself forms a specific vibration, forms a dynamic phase of itself, forms thought, forms motion. Thought forms directed energy, directed power, and the mind begins to move from a static state into a dynamic state. It moves from something that is into something that expresses itself as something identified with the nature of the thought that it is thinking. Oh. What a trip. Thought is therefore the vibratory force formed by converting static mind into dynamic mind. Thought is the force that moves the potential creative power into a dynamic created power. As the sum of all attributes are contained in the universal mind, which is omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent, these attributes must be present at all times in their potential form in every individual. That is what he was stating earlier towards the beginning of this part 2, when he says it is up to us to pull and manifest this power. Since this power is present within everywhere, and is within everything, and is within you, and we are in unity and united with it, it is up to us to pull. We have that potential infinite power within us, and through our consciousness, through our thinking, through our thought, we have to manifest whatever manifest whatever we desire to manifest. There is no limitation to what the human being can do, because the infinite is inside of us. It must be present within us, since it is present everywhere, and we are one with it. Therefore, when the individual thinks, the thought is compelled by its nature to embody itself in an objectivity or condition which will correspond with its origin. And this is what we talked about earlier. The nature of thought and the power of thought manifests in two ways. First, we become the thing of which we are thinking about. And second, we are attracting the things external to us that are in alignment with our thought, which will eventually come into existence in our reality, in an external form. Right? It corresponds. Everything corresponds around the vibratory activity of thought, which formulates our mental attitude and is our mind in expression, which is why we are centers of causation within ourselves, which is why it is up to you to cause the things that you want to happen in your reality, in your life. All power is from within. Let's move back a little bit. Every thought, therefore, is a cause, and every condition an effect. For this reason, it is absolutely essential that you control your thoughts so as to bring forth only desirable conditions. So, viewer, this key This information is all dependent upon your ability to conscientiously direct your thinking process towards the manifestation of the things of which you desire. It's dependent upon your mental discipline and your ability to direct your mind towards those things. It is essential for the manifestation of these conditions. It should be plain. Okay. All power is from within and is absolutely under your control. It comes through exact knowledge and by the voluntary exercises of exact principles, because it is based in wisdom and knowledge of the workings of the natural principles of life. It should be plain that when you acquire a thorough understanding of this law and are able to control your thought processes, you can apply it to any condition. In other words, you will have come into conscious cooperation with omnipotent law, which is the fundamental basis of all things. Now, moving back over here, when he tells us it is the coordination of these two centers of our being and the understanding of their functions, which is the great secret of life. This is the great secret of life, which will allow you to manifest anything and everything in this life. It is plain that you acquire a thorough understanding of this law and are able to control your thought processes. You can apply it to any condition. In other words, you will have come into conscious cooperation with omnipotent law. So the greatest secret is what? You coming into conscious cooperation with omnipotent law. And this law is the fundamental basis of all things. It is the fundamental basis of reality itself. The universal mind is the life principle of every atom which is in existence. And we've already covered this too, that we're made out of these atoms. Since these atoms come from the universal mind itself, that means that you and I, viewer, come directly out of the universal mind ourselves. Every atom is continually striving to manifest more life. All are intelligent, and all are seeking to carry out the purpose for which they were created. God created you to manifest himself as a God in the flesh, because you are made out of the atoms of which he is. A majority of mankind lives in the world without. Few have found the world within, and yet it is the world within that makes the world without. It is therefore creative. And everything which you find in your world without has been created by you in the world within. Now, we are almost done, okay? We are on the last 9 paragraphs. This system will bring you into a realization of power, which will be yours when you understand this relation between the world without and the world within. When you understand this greatest secret of life, you will be given the power to manifest the things that you want in your life. The world within is the cause, the world without the effect. To change the effect, you must change the cause. So all you have to do, viewer, is focus on changing your mental attitude and the way you think. You don't need to focus on working with externals, because the external conditions are the effect of what's going on inside of you. You need to go to the root cause of what's causing the manifestations you are experiencing in the external world. And that root cause is found within the kingdom inside of you, the world within you, the world of thought, the the world of emotions, the world of your mental attitude. This is the world of cause, because remember, all the universe, the fundamental basis of what this universe rests upon is a principle. It is a law. It is wisdom. So when you connect with the wisdom and you bring your mind into subjective with wisdom and you begin to think from the higher viewpoint, you think from the real cause, which is the world within you, which is the world of your thoughts, feelings, and emotions. When you think about changing the internal part of you, you are causing the changes to happen externally. You don't need to worry about changing what's on the outside. You need to worry about the change that must undergo within you. And this internal change that happens within you will automatically change what's going on outside of you. Remember, it's the law of correspondence, the law of attraction, the law of cause and effect. All these things happen in accordance to where you are in consciousness and in accordance to who you are as an individual. And who you are as an individual and your character is dependent upon your mental attitude, what you think most of the time. You will at once see that this is a radically new and different idea. Most men try to change effects by working with effects. They fail to see that this is simply changing one form of distress for another. To remove discord, we must remove the cause. And this cause can be found only in the world within. So what he is saying too, if you're working with effects, if you're trying to work by changing your life with what's external only, but you're maintaining the same mental state, the same mental attitude, you're just changing the distress. You're still putting the same causes in motion, which create discord. You're just doing it in a different environment. What he's saying, do not worry about changing the forms of what things are. Just go directly to the cause of these things, which is you, yourself. Then everything external will change by itself. To remove discord, we must remove the cause. And this cause can be found only in the world within. All growth is from within. This is evident in all nature. Every plant, every animal, every human is a living testimony to this great law. In the era of the ages is in looking for strength or power from without. The world within is the universal fountain of supply, and the world without is the outlet to the stream. Our ability to receive depends upon our recognition of this universal fountain, this infinite energy of which each individual is an outlet, and so is one with every other individual. Recognition is a mental process. Remember, you have to have the consciousness of it first, and then its manifestation will happen on its own. Mental action is therefore the interaction of the individual upon the universal mind. And as the universal mind is the intelligence which pervades all space and animates all living things, this mental action and reaction is the law of causation. But the principle of causation does not obtain in the individual, but in the universal mind. It is not an objective faculty, but a subjective process, and the results are seen in an infinite variety of conditions and experiences. So the law of causation is something that happens outside the realm of man himself. It happens within the realm of reality and the reality of the infinite universal mind that is present within us. It is not I that doeth the work, but the Father within me, that he doeth the work. It is the infinite power that does the work. It is through our wisdom and understanding and conscious unity and coordination, our ability to consciously coordinate our powers with the universal powers. Simply by the exercise of thought, we'll be able to attach ourselves to this infinite fountain of supply. In order to express life, there must be mind. Nothing can exist without mind. Everything which exists is some manifestation of this one basic substance, from which and by which all things have been created and are continually being recreated. We live in a fathomless sea of plastic mind substance, quantum field, universal intelligence, infinite consciousness, whatever you want to call it, however you want to see it. It's the basic substance, creative substance, of which all things have come into being. This substance is ever alive and active. Know ye not that ye are the temple of the living God? I come from the living God. My Father is the living God. This substance is ever alive and active. God is here now. Intelligence is here now. The universal spirit, everything that is, ever was, and ever will be, is already here now. You do not have to wait for the life after this life to be present with the Father. The Father is already here and alive with us now in this plane of existence. And it is alive, and it is aware of your thoughts and what you are saying, and is present with you at every moment and at all times. The substance ever alive and active. It is sensitive to the highest degree. It takes form according to the mental demand. Thought forms the mold or matrix from which the substance expresses. Excuse me. And as and attaching what he says back here when it comes to thought is dynamic energy. Thought is therefore the vibratory force formed by converting static mind into dynamic mind. Thought is the force which brings this infinite power which is already here into motion, into being, into expression. Thought forms the mold or matrix from which the substance expresses. It is your thinking. It is your mental attitude. And that is why the basis of what your ideals are so very important, because your ideals form the structure of what your thought process comes from. Your ideals and what you know and understand form the basis of how you think. And how you think is setting these laws in motion. It all leads back to thought. Remember that it is in the application alone that the value consists, and that a practical understanding of this law will substitute abundance for poverty, wisdom for ignorance, harmony for discord, and freedom for tyranny. And certainly there can be no greater blessing than these from a material and social standpoint. So what he is saying there, it's in the application of the information. What we're doing here in the information we're covering and giving you here, you can practice it. It is not theoretical. It is proven by science. And people have taken this information and used it to develop the fruits on their tree. Other people have expressed and formulated the reality of this information into material form for the dreams and the things that they want. It is practical information we have here. And we know the value of this information consists in not just knowing it, but applying it in our life. And we know that what we need to focus mainly on is simply through the application of the thoughts that we want to think. Now make the application. Select a room where you can be alone and undisturbed, which is my box right here, my room of silence, my reading room, my mastermind box, my New Thought Society box. This is a perfect place for me to do our practice in applying this information. Select a room where you can be alone and undisturbed. Sit erect comfortably, but do not lounge. Oh, we have to not be lounging. I'm over here chilling. Hey, I was chilling pretty hard right there, wasn't I? But it's all good. We're going through information. We're not meditating at the moment. I mean, you could call this a form of meditation, but we've been sitting here for almost 2 hours talking and covering this, so I could lounge a little bit, right? Ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that. There isn't anything wrong with that. Let your thoughts roam where they will, but be perfectly still for from 15 minutes to half an hour. Continue this for 3 or 4 days or for a week until you secure full control of your physical being. Many will find this extremely difficult, others will conquer with ease, but it is absolutely essential to secure complete control of the body before you're ready to progress. Next week, you will receive instructions for the next step. In the meantime, you must have mastered this one. So, viewer, Mr. Wayne, for starting off with part 1 and practicing the information. Now, let's see, how are we going to do this? We know that, let's say with physical training, for example, the goal is to train at least 4 to 5 days a week. That is an absolute must when it comes to your physical training. So, Mr. Wayne, same thing here with your mental training and your spiritual training. You need to be doing this at least 4 to 5 times every single week. Now, we know that the mind is the center of causation and is so much more to have disciplined and trained than the body is, and how important it is to have a strong physical healthy body. Well, I guess you could say physical, because the brain structures itself in accordance with the mental attitude. But still, the mental part of who we are is that much more important than the body. So we need to do at least 5 days. Starting off, we'll start with 5 days, 30 minutes. We'll do 5 days, 30 minutes out of the week. And eventually we'll move up to 6 days. And eventually we'll probably be doing it every single day. Who really knows? We will know as we move along. We know even the mind has its time to where it needs to be away and needs to charge. Just like the body needs to have days off from training. The body needs days off from training. Now, you could be a zealot and train every single day, but you do get more results when you give your body the time to heal, the time to restore. Because let's say, like I hit back and biceps today. If I wait 2 to 3 days, or even when I'm fully recovered, my muscles are fully recovered with greater energy than they had last time. And because of that full recovery, I will be able to train with a greater force of output on my next day of back and biceps, as compared to if I only waited let's say 2 days, and then I'm training back and biceps again. Those muscles are not fully recovered. Because they're not fully recovered, my training, I will not be able to put as much force or output into my training, nor will I be able to lift as heavy or have as hard of a workout as I could have if I let the muscles fully restored. So I'll let you think about what that means for you too when it comes to being a zealot for your training. You need to have days off to rest and recover. Rest and recovery is just as important as the training itself. So, how many days will I do? We'll start with 5. We'll start with 5 because we know the mental and the mind does need rest. So, we will give it that rest, just as we give our body the rest to recover and recuperate. Wow, this is amazing. We'll see where we're at in 6 months. With that being said, if you made it to the end of this video with me, I know these are rather long, but they are necessary long. The length of it is absolutely necessary, especially for me, because as I continue to do this, not only do I continue to grow in my understanding, but I also become that which I am thinking. And that which I am thinking is becoming in alignment with just how things naturally are. In other words, me as a person am becoming a more and more natural human being, because I am becoming more and more in alignment with just the natural workings of the universe, and the unity that I form through my understanding of the infinite mind, and my oneness with it, and the power that I have within me is going to give me the ability and the power to manifest the things that I want within my life, because in reality I am not separate from the things that I want. I will become the things that I want, and the law will work on its own. And likewise with you, viewer. So that being said, it is 1:58 in the morning. I need to do my meditation. And one more thing, how very convenient now that I did put out an audiobook series for this, because now that I've made it easier for me to be able to continue to go through this information, I used to read one part every day for the entire week, digesting it through reading it. Now that I've made the audiobook, I can listen to it as I do the things that I do, and keep the information fresh in my mind through the audiobook that I put out. You can listen to this audiobook. It is available for you on our channel, New Thought Society. And yeah, every day we are going to listen to this part, and we are going to practice it 5 days out of the week. And I will be here next week for our next lesson. How exciting, how cool. This is exciting. So with that being said, have a great night, viewer, and get your meditation in. Remember what he is telling us, this is the week we secure control over the physical body. So it's okay to let our thoughts roam where they will, let our consciousness roam where they will. For you could do, remember, you just need to find a place where you're comfortable and you're able to sit there erect. The whole point is gaining security, or securing complete control over your physical being. Okay? So if there's a game you want to play, if there's something else that you want to do, if there's something else that you need to do that you can do while sitting down, it's so you go ahead and do that. You can do that as long as you focus on maintaining your position physically. Remember, that's what we're focused on. We're focused on being still in the physical body. So that being said, let's go ahead and get our manifestation in. Let's go ahead and get our meditation in, and I will see you in the next video.